Alright, welcome back everyone. In this video I'm going to be covering something called passes, and what passes are is passing the chucks from one hand to another. There are several different kinds of passes you can do, but I'm just going to be covering probably like 4 of the major ones. And again, like I've said in previous videos, you want to use something that's not going to hurt you too much, especially if you're doing this with speed. You don't want to really hurt your hands as you're doing this. And also, you're going to be grabbing more towards the top or the middle. I mean, you can, when you're passing, you can grab towards the bottom, okay? That's more the combative style. But for a lot of the tricks and stuff that we're doing here, you want to grab more towards the chain, okay? So, the first, probably the most prominent pass that there is the over-the-shoulder pass, that one there, okay? And it is probably the most basic, it's the easiest to learn. And really, the way to do it is you want to start with that upward basic that I showed you in lesson 1 or 2. And you just want to get a feel for that. And then, I think it was lesson, I want to say 1, but it may have been 2, where I showed you that extending of the elbow when you're doing the reverse, the bounce. Okay? That's the same thing you're going to do here. The only difference is, once you extend that elbow, your other hand's going to come under your arm to catch. I'm going a little bit further with this side. I'm going past where I would normally bounce. So if I was doing the bounce, it would go there. If I was doing the catch, it would come a little bit further back. If that makes sense. Okay, so instead of coming here, it's coming more towards my back so that I can get around my shoulder. Okay? So again, start with that little upward basic. And once you get a feel for that, go ahead and kind of extend your elbow out to the side, but still keep the upward basic going. And then just kind of put your hand under your arm to catch. And then once that's there, then you can try and catch it there. Okay? Again, this is the most basic pass. This is the easiest one to learn, I think. Okay. So just try and get the feeling of that down. You can look when you're first learning this to help you gauge where the chuck is going to be. But as you get more advanced with this, you want to be able to do it without looking on both sides. Okay, and it just really comes with a feel. I mean, this, again, it's kind of like the fading. There's really no easy way to teach it. It's just kind of something you have to practice until you get. Okay. And then once you've practiced with keeping your hand there, okay, then take your hand away and see if you can get it that way. Okay. So that's the best way to practice that move. Again, you want to do it on each side. So just practice getting that pass in there. Again, you can look at it when you're starting, just to help you gauge where that pass is going to take place. But, like I said, you want to be able to get to where you don't have to look at it at all. It's just, you're passing by feeling where the chuck is going to be. Now what I'm doing there, when I'm going from side to side, there's kind of a basic and advanced version. The basic version is just going one and two the other, like that. Okay, almost there. That's the basic version. The advanced version is you add a little upward basic as you come across. So basic, 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 and then as I come across, I can add a little upward flourish in there before catching again. So the difference would be, this is the basic, this is the advanced, which I think looks a little bit better. Okay, It adds just a little bit more circles in there, and when you're using the nunchucks, more circles are usually better when you're trying to be showy. So again, as you come underneath, across the body, you're just adding a little upward flourish to the outside of your arm before catching. So down, upward, catch. Down, upward, and catch. Okay. This would be the basic, just going from one into the other. That would be the advanced. Okay. So that's the shoulder pass. Again, it's the easiest to learn. It won't take you long at all to get this one. The next one is the hip pass. This is probably the second most popular. And it really starts either from a shoulder pass or from an arm tuck. And the way you do it is, you're taking this handle that you're holding and bringing it to your opposite hip. Okay, so if I was in this shoulder pass, I would take this handle, bring it to my right hip. Okay, got something in my eye. So you're bringing it, and you're just touching the top portion of it to your hip. That's all you're doing. So shoulder, hip. Okay. Now, as you do that, you're leaving the back portion of that handle free to grab. Okay. So cross, grab. Then from there, you're just going to go right into an opposite shoulder pass. Okay. So from this part, from this side, it would be hip, grab. And that's another thing to really note. When you pass it to one side of your hip, if you're holding more towards the top, you're probably going to be grabbing the bottom portion of the chuck. And if you do that again on the opposite side, you can grab more towards the top again to get back towards the chain. So bottom, top, okay? And all you're doing there is just touching the handle that you're holding to your hip, grabbing the same handle, and then going into a shoulder pass. And then you can do the exact opposite on the other side. Okay, so that's the second pass. It's not a handle-to-handle pass. You're just passing the same handle in each hand, if that makes sense. So this one would be an opposite handle pass. This one would be a same handle pass. Okay. There's also a slightly different version of that where you can go into a reverse grip. So instead of grabbing this way to get into a standard grip, you would grab in reverse grip. And from there you can usually, do the same things before going back into the standard. So that's a slight variation on that one. The next one is kind of a full hip pass, and that usually comes after you've done that little across the hip part there, as if you're going into that hip pass. But this time, instead of grabbing here, you're actually taking it all the way around your back to where the other handle is going to come and hit you in that same spot. Now, as it's doing that, you're actually coming around and grabbing behind your back. Okay, so shoulder, hip, and then back. Okay, so this is the third pass. This is probably the third most popular because people like to go from this into the fourth pass. And the fourth pass is actually a neck pass. That one there. Now you can do it around your neck, or you can do it more around your shoulders, which is what I tend to do because I use longer chains typically. So behind the back. Then from there, you're just letting go with the other handle and bringing it around. So from the back, hip, around the back and catch, and then you're just letting go of the other hand. And you're bringing this around to do whatever you want. Okay, so you can go into a shoulder pass. Okay, or you can go into the fourth pass, which is a shoulder or neck pass. Okay, and that one, like I said, is typically done from this pass, where you're just letting go and bringing it around the neck. And the reason that usually follows that is because they're both horizontal passes. Okay, the first two I showed you are vertical passes, like the chucks are staying in a vertical plane. Okay, whereas these last two are all horizontal plane. So hip, and then around, if you can catch it. Okay. Again, the neck one is one you'll just have to get a feel for. Just kind of practice catching. It can be hard sometimes. A lot of people will try to catch like this. I would not recommend catching like this to begin with, because if you miss, you're going to get a chuck in the chin, which is not comfortable. So I would try going more of a diagonal. Like you can see, one hand is up around my neck, one is around my shoulder. And this time, if you miss this pass, it's just going to hit you in the arm. It's not going to hit you in the face. And even with a pair of rubber chucks, that can still kind of hurt. So if you're going to practice that one, again, practice with rubber chucks, and then go for more of a diagonal pass. Okay. So that will ensure even if you miss, you're just hitting yourself in the back of the arm. It's not going to hurt. So those are the four main passes. Like I said, there are more. There's what is there? There's under the leg passes. There's also reverse passes of the kind of things I just showed you. So there's those kind of passes where you go, instead of going behind the shoulder, you're coming up the other way. So those are a couple things to play with, but for right now, just work on those four main passes. The over the shoulder vertical. Both versions, you can do the basic or the advanced. I tend to prefer the advanced because it adds just a few more circles in there. Okay. The hip pass. The around the back. Okay. And then the shoulder pass. And spend some time in each one just so you can get it. You know, do like I'm doing and just bounce. Like once you do a neck pass, go back into a hip and then around so you can do it again. And that'll actually work both of those horizontal passes at the same time. So there's your hip, there's your neck. Okay, so it's working both of those at the same time. And really, you're working both of the vertical passes at the same time as well if you're doing the hip pass. So there's your hip pass, there's your shoulder pass. Okay. So that's how to work on each of those, kind of in groups, I guess. Alright, so those are passes. Next time I'll get into some catches. So, like the arm catches, the reverse arm catch, the opposite arm catch, that kind of thing. So, yeah, practice those things. Again, one thing I really want to emphasize, if you're going to do that neck pass, try to go more vertical with it, as you can see here. Don't try to do, you know, around the neck, because if you miss, you will spear yourself in the chin, and that is not gonna, it's not gonna be comfortable. Okay? So that is that video, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.